So the Doctor Who Season 1 episode Rogue recently showed one of the most intriguing scenes in this recent season. Whilst he's being scanned by Rogue the bounty hunter's ship, the faces of the Doctor's previous incarnations appear, but interestingly, one of the faces that does appear in this lineup is that of Richard E. Grant, who has a significant presence in the Whoniverse. In this video I'm going to be looking at the implications, the various fan theories that have been put forward, and trying to explain the idea myself. So strap in, get some popcorn as I try my best to do what MatPat does. Obsessively create fan theories. Now, before I get to all the theories people have been coming up with, we need to do a bit of explaining first, starting off with Richard's presence in the show. So Richard E. Grant has been a part of Doctor Who as far back as 1999, when he portrayed an alternative variant of the 10th Doctor in the comic relief special Curse of Fatal Death, and later in 2003 he appears as an alternate 9th incarnation in the webcast Scream of the Shalka, where he appears alongside Sir Derek Jacobi, providing his voice to an alternative variant of the Master. Later on in the new series, Richard would appear as two characters, the first being Dr. Walter Simeon and the second being the Great Intelligence, both characters appearing in the latter half of Series 7 with Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor. And since then, Grant has gone on to appear in much bigger projects. More notably, he has appeared in Marvel Studios' Loki Season 1 as a variant of the titular character, and the Loki series itself was worked on by Kate Herron, who together with Briony Redman wrote the current episode we're talking about today. So, what is this scene exactly intended to imply? Well, a lot of people are theorising that this means the Shalka Doctor and his incarnation are now canon to the main narrative, which does raise quite a few questions. Firstly, we have the 9th Doctor and Christopher Eccleston, and we have the late John Hurt's War Doctor, and we've seen their regenerations play out on screen, so placing the Shalka Doctor as a 9th incarnation in the main narrative not only makes things very complicated, but it also starts to break the canon of the show established up to this point. So what I'm going to do now is take a look at some fan theories put forth by other fans of the show, and then I'm going to put my own theory together. So starting off with some of the more popular theories, some have speculated that the Shalka Doctor was a pre-Hartnell incarnation thanks to the reveal of the Timeless Child, which we can pretty much debunk pretty quickly, because if these events were pre-Hartnell, as the theory claims, then how exactly would the Doctor and the Master know each other, and how would this Doctor be the 9th incarnation? Another theory is that the Shalka Doctor is the result of some kind of bi-generation. That also makes zero sense, because bi-generation, at least before the giggle, was a myth, and likely never happened before. The Doctor even says in the episode implying that it never happened before this particular instance.
I have bi-generated! There's no such thing. Bi-generation is supposed to be a myth, but... Look at me.
Another theory I've seen is that Richard E. Grant's presence in that lineup is not as an incarnation of the Doctor, but could in fact be Dr. Walter Simeon / the Great Intelligence, who splintered himself into the Doctor's timeline during Series 7. However, I don't really buy that, because I get the feeling that was more or less undone by Clara and the 11th Doctor, who both went into the time stream themselves at the end of that episode, which also partially set up Day of the Doctor. Some people even use Grant's presence to try and canonise the Curse of Fatal Death special and insert it into the canon, which again doesn't work, simply because the Doctor burns through his remaining regenerations in that story, and also the overall plot of Curse of Fatal Death I feel was just a one-off. Plus, if the Curse of Fatal Death was canon in on itself, then we'd probably be seeing the other incarnations from that story appear in the lineup, so I don't really think this theory works. Also, Curse of Fatal Death itself, on its own, works as a one-off comic relief special, so I don't really count it as canon in that capacity. Okay, so to further explain my ideas on the Shalka Doctor and why he was possibly included in the lineup of incarnations, I have to point us in the direction of this gentleman. So for those who don't know, this gentleman is Captain Jimmy Pie, a YouTuber who's been making Doctor Who videos on the internet for much longer than I have, and has made a fair few theories on the topic of the Shalka Doctor. Some of these, namely due to the non-canon status of Scream of the Shalka, were labelled as fan theories in a non-canon capacity. Now, one of my favourite theories concerning the Shalka Doctor narrative actually comes from Jimmy himself, that the Shalkaverse narrative is in fact an alternative outcome to the Time War. The backstory of the Scream of the Shalka apparently involved the Doctor in a relationship with the daughter of the Gallifreyan president, and eventually an unnamed race invaded that supposedly caused the Doctor to regenerate, the president's daughter dying, and the Master apparently losing his physical form, and the Time Lords themselves being more or less wiped out. As the Doctor makes several implications towards this in Scream of the Shalka, saying, he exterminates thousands and that he considers himself homeless. Anyway, the idea is that the Doctor, the 8th incarnation of course, his companion, the Gallifreyan President's daughter, and the Master all managed to defeat the Daleks and win the Time War, but it came at a cost, with the Doctor's regeneration, the Master losing his physical form, and the Doctor's companion losing her life as well, and the Time Lords being all but wiped out. Using their power from within the Matrix, what's left of the Time Lords would then send the Doctor and what remains of the Master away from Gallifrey and seal the planet in a pocket universe, which then leads into what we know as the Shalka narrative. Personally, I've always liked this theory, namely due to how little we know about the Shalkaverse Doctor and his history, and I think it's a really good attempt at explaining what may have happened. So with all of that said on Richard D. Grant and his work with Doctor Who, here's my theory on the current situation. The Shalka Doctor's adventures take place in a parallel universe, but in the main Endspace world, these adventures are written as supposed myths from within the Time War, and have been spread around as such. Eventually, the Shalka Doctor and the Shalka Master, along with that universe's Tardis, get pulled into the main universe through unknown means. However, these unknown means turn out to have been the work of Donna Noble and the 14th Doctor, who invoked a superstition at the edge of the universe which allowed myths and legends to enter this known universe, including the Toymaker, Maestro, most recently Sutekh, and on topic with this theory, it drags the Shalkaverse variants of the Doctor and the Master into the Endspace universe, which then explains why Richard E. Grant is seen as an incarnation during this scan. And a piece of evidence I can actually show to try and back up this theory comes from Paul Cornell, the writer of Scream of the Shalka, who, after the airing of Rogue, posted a photo of the Shalka Doctor and the Shalka Master with the quote, "We've entered another dimension by mistake," which Ross Davies commented on with the word canon, which seems to imply the Shalka Doctor and the Shalka Master are perhaps stranded in the main universe. Whether we'll see them on screen to confirm this is a question that is unfortunately yet to be answered, so we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think we'll see any answers next week because, well, Empire of Death, Sutekh, Earth possibly getting destroyed. We'll have to wait and see for that. Also, kudos RTD, you brought back Sutekh, props to you, man. But that concludes my theory on the presence of Richard E. Grant in the Doctor's lineup in Rogue. If you're a fan of this theory, then be sure to like this video, comment below, and perhaps drop your own ideas there, and be sure to subscribe and share this video. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you all soon.